All right, well, welcome back, Module 2. So today we're going to do some formatting of a worksheet, and again, using the textbook start files. So on the course site 1097 under Content, we'll go down to the textbook start files for Module 2, and we're going to download the module exercise. And here we go. Don't forget enable editing, otherwise you won't be able to do any of the changes. I will say if you change your zoom and you see how things turn to asterisks, don't worry, the data is still there. It's just based on that zoom, it's unable to display the information. So we will talk about autumn fit actually in this module, okay? And custom column width, etc. So stay tuned. So we've got this file open now, and we're going to go through the process following the textbook again on page EX2-2 to start with. And let's start with some various formatting. So let's highlight G3, holding down the left mouse button down to G15. And in this case, we want to do an accounting number format. So that is my dollar symbol. So we'll click dollar. Okay. And yeah, you'll see again, it's all, here, I'm going to zoom out so you can see it because I don't want to jump ahead. And so now you can see that it adds the dollar sign and the 2 zeros. Let's highlight H3 to H15. So I clicked on H3, held the left mouse button down to H15, and I want to put comma style. Again, similar to the accounting style, but with no dollar sign in front, so 2 decimal places. If we decided that you wanted more decimals or less, okay, we can play around with those increase, decrease buttons. Let's go to cell M1. Okay, in this case, it's a percentage. So we'll click the percentage button. And what if we want to increase the decimal place 20.0 or decrease? Okay. All right, let's go to C3 to C15. So this is our dates. And we want to format these a different way. So up on our number, right now it's formatted as a date, but we want to create a custom format. So if you click on the number format launcher, this bottom little arrow, you'll have all your various format functions. And we want to go down into the number tab to custom. And in this case, we want to, actually, there might be an option under date. Go to date. We're looking for one that says 14-mar. No. Doesn't look like one. Sometimes there are one. Okay, so we'll go down to custom, and in this case, go 14 dash, oh, sorry, DD, D-MMM, D-MMM will do your custom format. Sometimes, I don't know why my Excel didn't have it, but sometimes it would give me this option under date, but it didn't in this case. So you can always go to custom. D-month-on-month, and it's given us a sample of what that first cell would look like, 1-February. Click OK, and now you can see how it's changed the formatting accordingly. Let's go to I3, and we'll go down to J15. So we're highlighting both columns. So left mouse click on I3, drag down and let go on J15. And we want to go format cells on the shortcut menu. Okay, so we'll right click, format cells. And in this case, we'll go currency and want 2 decimal places. Okay, again, it's showing you can right click format. You can format cells here. Okay, format cells, or you can use the number buttons here. Lots of different options. That's one thing I'll say is the textbook walks you through different ways to format. I will say typically I use this area. Where it talks about the number and the different formats or the launcher if needed. Let's go to G3 all the way to I, and we want to go all the way down to row 15, and we're going to decrease the decimals, okay, because we don't need that. Increase to 0. Yeah, that's kind of the introduction, just how to play with some of those different fonts and formats. Go to page 2-4, we're going to change some font size. And where cell should we be on? We're going to hit Control Home, goes to A1. Control Home always brings you back to cell A1. And let's change our font. So right here on the Home tab, our Home tab ribbon, we've got our font style as Times New Roman. We're going to drop that and change it to Calibri. So now we've got Calibri. And we want to change the size 20. You can either take the drop down and click 20, or you can click the increase size until you get to 20. Okay. And then I want to assign this as a heading style. So under the cell styles in the middle section here on my ribbon, I want heading 1. So we're trying to find heading 1, and we'll click that. So it applies format based on what Excel has set for that style. Okay, and feature, we'll talk about how to edit some of those. Let's go to A2, to J2. So we've got our next set of headings. And we want to call these heading 2s. So we'll go to our style, and we'll call them heading 2s. All right, let's go down to L1. So L1. In this case, we want to also click on L2. So I'm holding the control button and L2. You can also just highlight both by dragging the mouse. And we want to call these headings. All right. So we'll save our work and we'll continue. Carrying on to 2-6, we're going to change some of the alignment and font styles, etc. So let's go back to A3. Down to A15, we're going to highlight those. We're going to bold them. So under our font section on our home ribbon, you'll see the bold, or you can hit Control B if you're used to that. There's italic if you want to italicize, underline if you want to underline. We'll look at borders and such later on, colors, etc. Now let's click on italic, turns it on. If you ever want to turn it off, you just click it again, it'll turn off. Then over in the alignment section, you have the option to keep it left aligned, centered aligned, or right aligned. And then bottom of the cell, middle of the cell, or top of the cell, top to bottom vertically. So let's click the center, left to right. And then we want to copy the format from this column over to the B column. So this is how, if you want to just copy format, there's a button here that says Format Painter. So it says whatever you're highlighting, paint that format to wherever I move my next click to. If you click once, it'll allow you to do it once. And then you left click and highlight. Let go, and it's no longer. I will say you wanted to do one cell at a time, you could double click on Format Painter, and then it'll keep it on until you hit the escape button. Okay, and wherever you click, it'll apply it. I'll hit escape, and then it stops that Format Painter. It's not a function that I use often. Let's go to A1. We're going to highlight all the way over to J1. This is a case where, say, I want to use JCL Talent as a heading for all of these columns. Under the alignment section here, we've got the ability to merge and center those columns. So we're going to merge those cells so it thinks it's one cell across multiple columns. This wrap text is very helpful from time to time. So say that you had a whole bunch of content that went to the end and went beyond it. If you hit wrap text, it would just make the text wrap around to the next line, and then you can just check the height of your row to make sure it's all displayed. Again, we'll do some of that as time goes on. One of the other functions that I do use in real life too is this last button here. We've kind of covered off all these other items. Actually, no, let's cover off these three together. This one here at the top is the orientation. So say I wanted this JCL Talent to be on an angle, I could angle it up, and then I can highlight, make that row bigger. Okay, I can rotate it down. I can rotate it or up or down. Okay. Or you can go format cell, and then you can, what angle do you want it to be? Okay. So you can play with all of that. And these other ones are, say, often you're typing, it lists 1, 2, 3, and you want this 2 to be indented, but you don't want to, drag it over here and create a new column. but 2 belongs to 1. So you could use the increase indent. 3, increasing, maybe that's a third level. So rather than typing spaces, these indent functions are a lot better than typing spaces, I'm telling you. Okay, increase or decrease indents. So keep an eye on that. It is very helpful. All right, let's do column width. You'll notice a bunch of text that isn't fitting. So let's go to between C and D. So one of the auto fit functions is if you ever get your mouse between 2 columns or between 2 rows and it turns to a line with an arrow going both directions, either left, right if you're on columns, or here up, down if you're on rows. If in that location you double click, it'll automatically adjust the width of that column or row that you're clicking on to the left or above it, to the width that it's needed to display the information contained within. So I'll do that again. Between C and D, I'll double click and it'll automatically change the size of column C. Okay, another option is you can, in that same spot, left mouse click and you'll see what the current width is, and say I want to change it to something else, and in this case I want it 12.71. So you can click and drag it and let it go, or you can right click and column width and type it in. Okay, many different ways to change the width. Let's go between D and E, and we're going to double click on that one so it makes it wider. I will say you had a whole bunch of columns you wanted to do, you could highlight all of the columns, double click between any of them, it'll auto fit all of them at one time. Okay, so we will do that. And then column L, same thing. We want those to show, so I'll double click on that to make that width the right width. And actually, it's asking me to look at I and J, and it wants me to make it 14. So you can either click and drag it to 14. It's already 14. That one's not, so let's make that 14. Or you can right click, column width, and type 14. Okay, because we want those both the same. There's lots of different ways to change the widths. I would say I use AutoFit very frequently. And that works with rows too. So if, say, this row was shrunk and you couldn't see anything, double click, it'll automatically fit it to show all of the text that's contained within. All right, let's move on to insert and delete rows, page 210 if you're following on in the text. So let's go Control Home, I think. I just want to make sure. Yes, we're on A1. All right, so let's click on F2. Oh no, right click on F2, it says. Right click on F2, and you'll see a bunch of options. And in this case, we want to insert something. So let's click Insert, and say I want an entire row. Do you want just the cell right or cell down? Do you want an entire row or an entire column? So we'll hit entire row. So now we have a new row above it. And you'll see this little insert options popped up. Let's click on that and you'll see, what do you want as an option? Do you want to format it the same as above, the same as below, or clear all formatting? Just to give you an idea. And we don't want to make any changes, so we'll just leave it the way it is. The other option is, say we want to delete this row, this software developer for Newton, a 1698 reference number we don't want. So we could click on the number 9, it highlights the entire row. Okay. A couple of ways you could right click and delete, it'll delete the whole row, or on the home ribbon near the right, you'll have the ability to hit delete, and that'll remove that row for you. And also insert, and that'll add a row. Okay. So those buttons can be very helpful as well. Okay. Let's move on. A4 to A15. We're going to highlight A4 to A15, and we want to fill the color. So we're going to go back up to our home ribbon to fill color. And in this case, we want blue, gray, text to lighter, 80%, second row, fourth column. So is it this one? Blue, gray, text to lighter, 80%. So you'll see as you hover over, especially when you're doing SAM graded assignments, make sure that those names match. So we'll color that in. And then we want to add some borders. So that's this little button here under the font section. We'll click the drop down. You'll see many of the borders that are standard. Then you can hit more if you want to do more custom. But in this case, we want a right border. Excuse me. And then we want to play with the color. So we can drop our font color, and you'll see again the little colors pop up. So we want blue, gray, text 2 color. I think it's this one, blue, gray, text 2. This is blue accent 1. Highlighted that. And then say what we want to do is create some more documentation in this file. And what we're going to start with is adding header footer information. So let's go to the Insert tab, pulls up our Insert ribbon. And in this, we want the text section. Over here on the far right-hand side is the header footer. So header footer is what's within the margins that can provide information such as sheet name, your name, a date, something like that. That's not necessarily on the worksheet. So we'll click header and footer and say we want the sheet name. So when you hit insert header and footer, a new tab will open on your ribbon that gives you various information that you may want. You can type, what I want in here, whatever you want, or you can use information that Excel can populate based on other components. For example, number of pages will be based on your page print option. The sheet name will be based on the sheet name of the worksheet down here. So we're going to click sheet name. So whatever we name the sheet, put it in the header. So every time we rename it, it'll update and we don't have to manually do it. Let's go to the footer. So there's a little go to footer button. Okay. And we want to enter our name. Okay. In the center section. And then let's get out of this page break preview. A few ways you can do it. You can go view and change, or once you've hit enter, one thing I'll say is you can't use the status bar until you get out of your header. So you need to click out of your header back into an active cell somewhere, and then you can click your status bar normal. Control home or scroll up. Okay, just to show you what it looks like, if we go file print, you'll now see where it says sheet 1 and my name down in the footer. All right, moving on, let's do some conditional formatting. So conditional formatting, based on the contents of that cell or a calculation or whatever instruction you give it, it will apply formatting based on that test. So say you wanted every expense that's over $500, do something to it. Make it red, make it blue, put an asterisk, whatever that might be. Those are all considered conditional formatting. So we're going to do a couple of examples. Let's go to I4 to I15. So we've highlighted those, and we want to go to conditional formatting. So this is on your home ribbon, conditional formatting in the middle. And in this case, let's use data bars. So you could highlight cells that are, greater than something or less than something. You can make up your own rule or duplicate values. You can go, what's my top 10 items or top 10% or 5%? I will say if top 10 items means it defaults to 10 items, but you can make it the top 2 items, the top 4 items, whatever that is. Data bars, which we'll do in a moment, it'll add colors. So it looks at the relativity between the cells that you've highlighted. Same as color scales, if you just want colors based on the relativity. You want an icon set. And again, you can override them, customized, but there are some ones built in. So maybe you want the highest numbers being a green arrow. Maybe you want the highest numbers to be a green dot, and the lowest numbers to be a red dot. In this case, we want data bars, and we want blue data bars, wherever that is. Blue data bar, first row, first column. So what that does is it looks at, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see it. The biggest number will have the fullest bar. So you'll see that here. And the smallest number will be as a percentage of that full bar. So you see 12 is about 2/3 of 18. That's about 2/3 of this cell is filled in with the data bar. G4 to G15, let's highlight those. And you'll see a little quick analysis button popped up on the bottom right-hand corner. That's what this is called, quick analysis button. And we'll click that, and we want to do formatting, and we want to go greater than something. So we want to say anything greater than 500. We want to light red fill, which is the default. Okay. We'll click OK. So you'll see that there are 5 cells highlighted. The nice thing about conditional formatting is that as the contents change, so will the format. So let's go to G4. What if this was 499 instead? And then you'll see that it is no longer red. So based on the contents of the cell, it'll change accordingly. I think what this is looking for. Yeah, I was trying to give you a change. See, for example, this number changed. It changed actively. It's a very useful function for various dashboards or quick looks on how things relate to each other. Oh, I got to put this back to 499. All right, worksheets. So let's go to the Sheet 2 tab. Okay, so whatever sheet you click on will be the active sheet in the window. Okay, go back. Let's go to the Sheet 2 name. Say we want to rename it. You could double click on it. You can right click on it and click rename. Okay, I just double click. We'll call this commission. The other option is we can right click on that tab name at that tab commission, and you'll see you have different options. So I want to move it. I want to protect the sheet. I want to hide the sheet. In this case, tab color, very helpful if you have a worksheet with lots of items. You want to use colors to indicate certain, something completed or old or to delete or whatever that might be. And so we have all our various colors. We want the 5th row, 2nd column from the right. So somewhere down here, blue, accent 5, 25% darker. Okay, so if I click off the sheet, you can see the color is now there. Okay, obviously the active sheet, it's hard to see the color otherwise. Let's go to Sheet 1. We're going to rename Sheet 1. So double click on it or right click on it, rename. We'll call that Boston Tech. We'll go back to the Commissions tab. And okay, first of all, it wants a Sheet 3, which we don't have. If you hit the plus sign, I showed this in a previous one. But if you did this before you renamed, it would be called Sheet 3 automatically. And this is just saying, for example, I can take commission, click and hold my left mouse button. I can drag it around. I can reorder my workbook however I decide. Okay, so just clicking with your left mouse button. Let's right click on Sheet 3 and just delete that worksheet. Okay, because we got an extra one, we don't want it. And then the last function for this module is about how to check spelling. So there is a spell check in there. I remember when Excel first came out, there was no spell checking in Excel. It was such a nice feature to have built in. So let's go to Boston tab. Let's go to the review tab. You'll pull up the review ribbon. Okay. And we want to go to the spelling section. So on the far left-hand side, there's some stats, how many tables, how many cells have data, how many formulas are there, et cetera. There's a thesaurus if you want to use it. But right now we're going to look at the spelling, and it starts the spell check where you are. So the first one, it says it found the word support with only one P, and do you want to change it? And yes, we want to change that. And we'll click yes in case we missed something. Commissioner, commission, change, and that's it on this page. Okay, let's another option is back on the home tab. To say you're looking for some wording that you used on this page, but you want to change it. So for example, let's go find and select on the far right under the editing section of the home ribbon, and we want to replace something. So in this case, we want to replace the word contract with the word temp. Okay. Control H also pulls this up. Control H is find and replace. And let's just hit replace all. If you just want to find all first, you can. Otherwise, let's hit replace all, and it said it found 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So replace the word contract with temp. Okay, so that's Control H. We'll pull that up as well. So that's the material. Don't forget Sam. Right now, not due yet, but obviously, hopefully you finish chapter 1 assignments on SAM. Then should be doing chapter 2 assignments on SAM and get them all done. Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 by the due date, I think it was May 20th. And good luck. Take care.